equations of lines. In other words, we're looking at the linear function. So we know that all straight lines can be written in the form y equals mx plus b. Now, when did we first see that? Year 8 maybe? Year 7 maybe? I don't know, a long time ago now. Y equals mx plus b. We know the coefficient of x. Well, the reason we call it m is because it is the slope or the gradient. And just like any polynomial, the constant turns out to be the y-intercept. Okay. Another way we tend to write these is general form, where we pull everything over to one side and make it equal to 0. So that's what we call general form. Sometimes you see it called standard form, but most commonly general form. Now, the key is A, B and C, we make integers or surds. I mean, sometimes it's impossible to make it an integer, because I mean, if the coefficient of one of those is the square root of 3, well, that's an irrational number. How are you going to make that an integer? You can't. I guess basically we're saying is we tend to not have fractions when we write it that way. Some teachers have probably drummed into you that A has to be positive. Has anyone had that drummed into you? That's not true. A does not have to be positive. I tend to always make it positive because I just think it's neater to start with a positive number. The key thing is the integer or the surds. You know, no fractions there. Okay, so we want to find the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals 5x minus 2, passing through, and they've given us the y-intercept. Oh, okay. Well, that's... remember the other day we talked about perpendicular lines. We said the slopes were the negative inverse of each other. Our line, it's in y equals mx plus b form, so I know the slope of that line's 5, so the one I want is minus 1/5. I've got that. I've got the y-intercept, so there's our equation. However, they have said put it in general form. So we'll pull it all to one side. Or first of all, multiply out the fraction. So multiply out the fraction, we want to get rid of that. Pull it all to one side, and we get our general form. Okay. There are some special lines though where y equals mx plus b doesn't fit. And they're our vertical lines and our horizontal lines. So any line parallel to the x-axis, so there's one there, it goes through the point 3,2, it will have the equation y equals some constant number, because every point on that line would have a y coordinate of 2. I suppose it does fit the y equals mx plus b, because the slope of that horizontal line would be 0. So we're saying 0x plus the y-intercept would be 2. So that one does sort of fit. The vertical line is a bit stranger. So it's parallel to the y-axis. Now if that one goes through 3,2, it would have an equation x equals 3. So to sort of write that in y equals mx plus b form is a bit hard, because there is no pronumeral y there. So how do you make y the subject when there's nothing there at all? So there are two interesting cases, the horizontal cases and the vertical cases.